You know when it's ready. And we're live.
And we're back. All right. Sorry about that, friends. Duty does call from time to time. Another one of those words that you may love or hate, but we'll be using it again today. So sorry. This is the continuation of the fretboard care and maintenance video that was done a couple minutes ago. We had to stop for, well, to help customers, which is why we're here ultimately. So that's a good thing for us. But basically, if you didn't see that first video, maybe start there. We basically talk about just the introduction is what you've missed. But we talked about the supplies used and, you know, kind of some of the ideas behind what's going on today. And also, quickly, a bit of housekeeping. If you're not already a fan of the Quinn's Music page, go like our Quinn's Music page. And I also have my own page called Northern String Works on Facebook, so go find that and you can keep an eye on some of the other things that I work on and things that are going on and workshops that I do and things like that. So yeah, and I guess aside from that, also really quick, I've been hammering away at guitars. It's a really good time of year and a good time in general to bring your guitar in right now. That space that Jake is showing you now is generally sometimes very full of guitars. You don't see a whole lot of brick, and at the moment I'm trying to keep on them quite a bit, and so the turnaround times right now are very low. And so if you'd like your guitar worked on, now is a prime time for that sort of thing.
Again, look at all that brick.
Right. And just coming out of the winter season, it's a good time for some maintenance anyways. We're just coming out of the really dry season. So anyways, let's move on with this particular video for now. And this fretboard, if you can get a little close up, I've already actually wiped it once in between videos. It had dust like this. If you can see above the nut, there's a bunch of dust. The whole fretboard was like that and just kind of full of dirt. And you can kind of see it near some of the frets and up here where I haven't gotten yet. It's just not an overly grimy, but at least a somewhat rough fretboard. So this will be good to clean. And so basically I get some paper towel and I fold it up a bit. I've got my gloves on here to keep my hands clean because this in particular is a pretty dirty fretboard. As you can see, I've only wiped this once or twice. And so hopefully you're not eating lunch at the moment or you're not weak of the stomach. But basically I'm going to run this over, and this is a very dirty fretboard. They're not all going to be like this, but basically you're going to keep running clean paper towel, going back and forth. Right now I'm just getting it nice and loose, and it's just pulling up all kinds of stuff. And so I can't really use that towel anymore, so I'm going to switch to a fresh one. And I'm not even going to need to put soap on this one. It's still pretty sudsy and soapy from the last batch, and I'm just going to go through and wipe that off really good and keep rotating my towel to clean sections so it can lift more dirt off. And I'm going to basically keep doing this until I see less dirt on the paper towel. Something that I like more than that, cleaner results. So you could, in some cases, do this for quite some time. And again, like I said in the first video, if you have a fretboard that's just really nasty, there are maybe other measures that you can take, at least early on, to shorten the time. So I don't have to do, 10 to 15 rounds of the Murphy's oil soap. There's ways you can get the heavy stuff off. But anyway, come see me if that's the case for you. And I'm just gonna hit this one more time. Still pretty dirty. This is a pretty old guitar, pretty cool old guitar made in Brazil in the 60s. And so it has the now coveted Brazilian rosewood in a couple areas. And it's a classical guitar. And so these principles do apply to basically any fretted instrument, not just classical guitars. The exception being if you have a Fender guitar or some sort of a guitar with a maple neck, that fretboard is most likely going to have finish on it, and you will not do this the same way. You're going to treat that more like polishing the finished areas, the body of the guitar. The fret polishing would be about the same, but the first and third steps here you would not do if you have a maple fretboard. So if you don't know what that is, it's the lighter color. We've got one around here somewhere, don't we?
We've got a good variety of guitars, but looks like this may be the only maple neck guitar that we have. Howdy, sir. Right now, if you're tuning in, your fretboard looks like that. If it's part of a one-piece maple neck or maple fretboard in general, you're not going to follow the exact same process for polishing the neck. No Murphys.
And so that also, I can add to that and extend that to say, obviously then, we don't use Murphys on the body either. There are good guitar polishes for that sort of thing. And so this is a difference. The unfinished areas inside the guitar and the fretboard are not the same and treated the same way as the areas with finish on them. So anyway, so here we go. I've got that part all done, and now I'm going to move on to polishing the frets. And for that, I use the 4/0 steel wool, 4/0 quadruple 0 steel wool. And I have these really handy fret guards. Got a variety of these things in different sizes. Really useful. This one's got a cool little handle, but it's a little smaller. So I take this and I put it over the fret and I polish in this direction. And it shines it right up very nicely.
And you can see right there, even from one pass at it.
Yeah, so you
Just the
can get the
drastic
difference. Yeah, these frets were pretty well oxidized and a little tarnished. And so by doing this, see, a lot of you, most of you are not going to have fret guards. And so there are ways around this that you can do this without the fret guard, and I'll show you that as well. One thing you can do is tape off the frets. And so I don't have my thinner masking tape right now, but get something like a 1-inch masking tape, and I just tape on either side of the fret, like so. And when you're done, you can pull that off, and that'll allow you to do that. You can tape off the whole fretboard and leave the frets exposed, and you can do it that way. You can also go this way on the fretboard, and this will actually clean the wood a little bit. Say, for instance, I don't have Murphys, and I just really want to clean my fretboard. This will kind of give it a little polish and a little clean, and it'll polish the frets at the same time, but it's really messy as far as steel wool goes. You're going to want to clean that up afterward, and it's not, to me, quite as good of a polish. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you can see them up close. It's not quite as good of a polish, but it's still pretty good, and for the most part, it's going to be just fine for most people. So I prefer to go this way, what I call with the grain of the fret. So you could also do this and go this way with steel wool, but right now I'm polishing across the grain of the rosewood, and I'm leaving little scratches in there. I wouldn't want to leave it that way. So if you do choose to still just polish like this with steel wool, you're going to have to go back in each spot that you did that and then polish the wood with the steel wool in the direction of the grain. You're going to have to go back and forth this way to get rid of those scratches. So it's a bit of work either way you look at it. It's easier to just take a big pat of it and go like this a few times and then clean it up afterward. With a vacuum, I use a magnet. It's pretty handy as well. But don't use a magnet on an electric guitar, specifically Fender, Strat, and Telecaster style guitars. That's a whole different story, but you can demagnetize your pickup if you touch a super magnet to the pull piece on your electric guitar. So anyways, lots of information here, but step 2 is basically polish the frets, and you can also use this steel wool in a pinch to do step 1 and 2 basically. I still like to use the Murphys when I can because, one, it's not as messy with the wool, but it's also helps lift some of the dirt out of there, some of those oils. So here we are. I'm going to finish polishing the frets here real quick. Are you all set up there, John?
Yeah.
Oh, Mark!
Tell you what we can do is set this phone right
sit
here.
down for a second, or tour the store and
Get
show them
that
what's
nice-
like in the eyes of Jake to walk
there we
around
go.
and ask people to come help.
Hello.
Howdy, customer.
Howdy, Quinn, store clerk.
All right, so what do we have going on here? Get some pics?
Just need some pics.
All right, well, we're going to put this pointed that way and look at all the wonderful parts of the store. Full today comes to $239. This is what it looks like from behind the counter. You can even see the counter mess. All right. All right, Mark's gonna help this gentleman out. Total comes to $239. And we're coming back over here.
Okay, so the frets are about polished. This usually doesn't really take very long. In some cases it'll take, some frets are really rough, but just do it until you have the result that you like or until they're not getting any shinier.
So we can take another close up here just to see how shiny those are turning out.
Hopefully you get them in a good light, kind of get an idea.
All right.
Yeah. So there's a couple of those where getting them all going this way, just because I'm very picky. So lastly, I'm gonna hit it with the Formby's lemon oil treatment. Clean up my steel wool scraps one more time here. All right. So for the Formby's, now with the Murphy's we use paper towel. I feel like you get a lot more mileage and it kind of pulls it up a lot better than with a microfiber cloth. But there are some rags that you could also use for the Murphy's. Conversely, with the conditioner, I feel like you get a lot more for your buck if you use an actual rag and not paper towel, because it just soaks into paper towel and you almost have to, sometimes it's just a mess. The paper towel gets all shredded and you have to apply the oil a few times, whereas with these kind of rags, it usually holds the oil really well. You only have to wet it one time, maybe twice. But
Look at the grain of that wood.
so yeah, this obviously makes it look really nice. It does help the grain stand out. It makes the fretboard look healthy. And that will dry and it will look a little bit less like this, but it's really, really nice. Just soaking in some of those mineral oils. And there we have it. That is a cleaned and conditioned fretboard with polished frets. The next step, of course, for me would be to go through and clean the rest of the guitar, kind of go through maintenance, cleaning the tuners, basically treating them if necessary, tightening them, whatever it may need, going through, and then we're gonna put strings on and set the string height. So again, this is all just part of the process, but the other big thing is getting the adjustments done. So getting the string height adjusted at the saddle, getting the truss rod adjusted to adjust the angle of the neck, which doesn't happen on this guitar. Some classical guitars nowadays do have an adjustable truss rod. This one does not, many don't, especially the old ones. But anyway, and then we adjust the height at the nut here with our nut files. I've got a variety of specially gauged and sized files, and all together that gives us the right string height and a nice comfortable low string height, which is also really important. So anyway, that's the whole process for the setup basically, and we'll go more into depth on some of this other stuff next time. Thanks for hanging out.
All right, thanks, guys.